Hey everyone, welcome back to another Persona 5 Panamix video. In today's video, I'm just going to be going over some of the personas we can be using while we're getting up to the level 70 mark. And to start things off with, our main persona that everyone should be leveling up and getting going is our man right here, Janosik. Because he's quite easy to use, just based off the fact of his marked target. And what marked target does is it decreases the defense of the target by 26.9%, as well as increasing. And you can actually proc it by using Rakunda, which decreases one foe's defense by 34.9%. Because the moment you use one skill, assuming you don't have Janosik in your first slot, the moment you use one skill, it'll randomly mark one character, or you can choose which enemy gets the mark by using Tatra Shot. And then really all you're looking at doing is have Tatra Shot with Rakunda and a Terrakaja just to increase the attack, decrease the foe's defense. You can also replace it with, of course, Rebellion, I believe. And you're kind of good to go there. And then, as always, you can always throw on for speed, because if you guys don't know how to build Wonder for speed-wise, you need to apply Agility Master, or your persona needs to have Agility Master. It needs to be in your first slot. So it needs to be in your first slot. So since Janosik is my first slot, I get a extra, right now, 6 speed based off it. And that's how we can speed tune Wonder to be faster than for example, our main damage dealer. So like my On, where my On is at 99.9. And the next character I want to be talking about, or persona, is Succubus. Succubus is a persona we get super early on, and when ally uses a skill, so this is worded wrong. What it really should be saying is when you apply a persona skill to one of your allies, it'll increase their crit rate by 11.7%. And she also comes base with Rebellion, which increases one of her ally skills for crits up to a maximum, I believe, 14%, based upon your, or dang near 15% based upon Wonder's crit rate. And as well as you can also teach her like something like Matsurokuja, which increases the party's attack by 9.8%, as well as increased by another 6.5% based upon Wonder's attack. And if you do that, it'll increase all of your party's members' crit rate by that 11.7%. So that's why she's really good, because as long as you use one of a skill, one of her skills, not her Thief Tactics, but one of these, like a single target or a multi-target, it'll increase your whoever's the effects by this much crit rate, 11.7%. And then a rank 2 persona, like Succubus is kind of the only good rank 1 persona, but a rank 2 persona that isn't super bad is Leanan Sidhe, and it's just because she comes base with Rakunda. So as you're leveling up and going up, you're not really looking to fuse personas for skill enhancement, then you can actually just use her for the Rakunda effect, as well as she is the earliest persona that we can use to teach skills. So we can use her card to teach other character skills, which leads into my next persona that we'll be using, which would be the rank 3 persona, Ame-no-Uzume. So I can go over here and teach her, for example, so I can click here, quick skill, and I can find a list of all the skills. And then I can go down here and find, what is it? Rakunda. And as we can see here, right now, Leanan Sidhe's seal is the only way to teach Rakunda. And then so I can go over here and then click, and for 200 of these blue coins, I can buy a Leanan Sidhe. And then there's a 1 in 3 chance of getting Rakunda onto my persona. And that's kind of how you have to do it. You have to keep going over and over until you get the proper skill. But the reason why Ame-no-Uzume is good, because when foe is shocked, it increases party crit rate by 8.5%, but if you actually fully clock it out, it's actually 10%. And another thing with shocked, increases critical taken rate by 10% for 2 turns. So when the enemy is shocked, realistically, you're getting your entire party's getting an entire 20% increased crit chance on them. And then all she's really looking for is a single target shock and a AoE shock. AoE shock just so that every single one of if you're in a AoE situation, it would be really good to apply shock to hopefully hit all of them. So this would be like really good for any of your AoE teams. So it could be good for your On, it could be good for your Jokers, Even it could be good for if you go for Fox, because he does AoE, area effect moves. And that covers really all the three. But another good one for your fire team is Lamia. Lamia is good because when foe is burning, so when she applies burning to a foe, which as you can see she has a bunch of foe burning skills, she increases the party's attack by 12%. So all she has to do is be the one to inflict burn onto the target, and your entire party gets 12%. So it's actually pretty good if you run a fire team. And then another really good rank 3 persona to use is actually Jikokuten, because after using skill on an ally, increases main target's attack by 13.5%. And of course it actually goes up to 15.5%. And when target's HP is below 6%, increases effect by 30% more. So it actually does 45.5% increased attack. And he comes naturally with Kuja, which is increases the party's attack. So all you have to do is target your main damage dealer with this, and it's actually going to increase that target's damage by up to 45% or at least 15%. So a very nice persona to have. And then for your 4 costs, the biggest ones for the most part is, for example, one Right Rider if you have a Joker team at the start, just because after using skills on foes, it increases curse damage taken by 5.3% per stack of curse. And of course, it can go all the way up to 6.7%. And I believe curse can stack up to 5 times. So this is increased curse damage taken by over 30% just by stacking up curse onto them. And he applies a lot of curse, as you guys can see. So if you run a Joker team, White Rider is honestly not a bad pull for him. And then the starting for our rank 5 personas we can be using is, the first one I'll be looking at is Yurlungur, or Yurlungur as I call him. And that's because when I look at his passive skill, increases foes critical damage taken by 18%, and if the foe is shocked, increases it by 11% more. So if the foe is shocked, it actually increases the target's crit damage taken by 29%. So any ones where you want to see big crit damage, you use him and make sure the foe is shocked, which he should be, because he comes natural with Zaiding, and you can even use my Zaiding. But as long as your main target is shocked, you're doing an extra 29% crit damage on him base, and it works well. Kind of works as an upgraded version of my Ame-no-Uzume, where I'm looking at her. If your team wants to make sure to crit, it works well. So any people with Yui, I would highly suggest getting Yurlungur. I need to get him up for my Yui, but Yui, very good for him. And then the next persona I'll be looking at is, continuing with our rank 5s, is Koumokuten. And that's because he comes base with Revolution, which is just a party-wide critical rate boost, which we don't see that on base until we get to level 70, when we get Dionysus, which Dionysus we have to go through our persona farming on the 7th floor right here, and you need to do a guaranteed of him dropping is doing him 8 times, so it can be quite expensive for the stamina reasons. But so that's why Koumokuten's very good. And then the next persona we'll be talking about, you have to unlock through being rank 13 for Merope, and it's Narcissus. And what Narcissus does is he works off of wanting windswept onto the target. So right down here, Narcissus. And if I look at him, so after inflicting windswept, increases main target's damage taken by 17.6%, and it goes all the way up to 22.4%. So very nice. And then his one ability, Spike, has a great chance to increase windswept. And if all you really want to be looking at is throw on a Tarakuja, and eventually you probably want to throw on a Rakunda onto him, and then you'll be fully built. But this is a really nice single target. There's one target only kind of persona to use, just because of the fact that windswept itself decreases defense by 12% for 2 turns of the target. So you get a defense decrease of 12%, and as well as increases their damage taken by 22.4% if you fully get them up. And now, starting with the rank 6 personas, which you'll unlock once you hit level 70, we're going to start with Surt. Why Surt is really good is just because of two things. It's because he starts with Maracunda, which decreases all foes' defense by 25.7% at this rank, and as well as of his thief tactics. Increased damage taken by 17%. So that's kind of the whole reason we use him, is because of Maracunda and thief tactics. And because of that, all you're really looking for is to get him with a bunch of defense passive abilities. So what I mean by that is, if I go to skills, all I'm looking for is a bunch of defense type stuff. So like our main example would be, you can use an HP boost, you could use a defense mastery, you could be using a I believe something called life. Is there no life? Healing boost, I believe. But like any sort of things that help, that will help make Wonder tanky, because all his only job is just to decrease the enemy's defense and increase their damage taken. He is a wonderful, great AoE target persona for that, and he would be one of the main ones I would recommend getting. Which leads us into another rank 6, Norn. Norn's whole thing is, after inflicting Windswept, decrease target's defense by 22.8%, but it actually goes all the way up to 31.5%. And it even gives you, I know this is not the main thing you want him for, but also increases defense by 30%. So it kind of makes him make Wonder a little tanky, because I know when I'm looking at doing going up into higher content, my Wonder gets wrecked super quickly. He always gets wrecked. And all you're really looking to get on him is Gardening, so either single targets, or you can switch it out if you're doing more AoE for a, where is it? A Megarula, just so that when we are because unlike Narcissus, this is basically the AoE form of Narcissus. Narcissus works off of one target when swept, because it's only the main target to affect, while Norn affects for every single one, everybody who is infected by Windswept. So he also works with AoE content, so he'll be really good for any of our AoE, so like our Jokers, our Ons, etc. And in the future coming up, you could be using him with what's her name, Summer Closer, Summer Multaha. And then another rank 6 persona you guys could be looking at using. I know a lot of people want Wonder to be some sort of healer, and I would say the first one who can be kind of a healer is actually Titania, just because of this ability right here. Restores party's HP by 17.7% plus attack, and if an ally's HP is below 50%, increases healing effect by 25%. I'm not saying you should build Wonder as a healer, but this is kind of when I was first starting out playing the game. I threw her on with no healer, with no healing actual character, and she did fine. She did fine enough. Not amazing. I would still suggest using our Lufels, our Marians, etc., anything like that. Even our, if you really need healing, even just throwing on a, what's her, Mona, and you'll be fine. I'm not suggesting you should use her, but if you do want to build Wonder as kind of a healer, then she's not a bad choice, because she also just increases healing by herself. I know whenever I used her, she would always at least pop most of my health back, and she'd keep my guys alive. And again, for the fire team, if you want to really increase your fire damage, you can always throw on Baphomet, because with him, if you, after using a skill, increases all foes' fire damage taken by 29% for one turn. So you use Baphomet right before you, for example, use On's big damage turn, so like usually turn 3, and you're dealing an extra 29%. He also comes base with Tarunda, so he's definitely not a bad choice at all to have. And then once we hit level 70, we can start getting our rank 7 personas, where I guess the first one I would suggest actually building, especially if you want to go do a, this is mostly for our blessed teams in the future, so our Summer Multaha, our Kasumi, any of those, and it's actually Dominion. What is it? So he gains 2 commandments. When allies deal skill damage, spend 1 commandment to increase that skill's damage by 13.5%, and once you max him out, it increases increases their skill's attack by 6.4%, and increases his spell damage by 15%. So he works really well with any sort of Blessed team, as well as he has Cohesion, which is increases party's attack by a certain percentage, and it also increasing it further by a percentage of Wonder's attack, and as well as increases main target's damage by 7.6%, and further increases it by for every 500 of the user's attack. So if you have 4,000 attack on that character, or like 4,200, I think it is, it increases the target's damage by 15% for 1 turn. So you pop this right before, like, for example, your Kasumi, your Summer Multa wants to do a big turn, and it immediately gets a bunch of attack and 15% basically extra damage. So big. Very nice. He also comes base with Agility Master 4, which is the biggest increased speed. So increase speed by 15 and decrease defense by 12. So he's one way we can make our Wonder super speedy. And then the last one, the last rank 7, or like ones we can get without using the shop, I'm going to be talking about is Dionysus. So Dionysus comes natural with Revolution, which is a crit rate buff, but also after using skill on an ally, increases main target's crit damage by a whopping 30%. So use Revolution and it increases the main target's crit damage by 30%, plus the crit rate increase right here. So Dionysus he's basically a mandatory persona I use for every team, basically. Any team who wants to crit and deal multiple crit damage, I throw on Dionysus because he provides all of that. Natural with Revolution, and then his passive skill. So I would highly suggest, the moment you hit 70, get this guy. Do 8 runs. Just get him going. He is a massive upgrade for any team. I want to suggest maxing. He is one you definitely want to max out his passive by getting multiple dupes of him. Like, max this out. Get to overclock 3, which we get. Hopefully you guys should know. And then for us who have a curse team, you definitely want to get Alice because of her skills. So for example, Die For Me increases all foes' curse damage taken by percentage, and it increases further up to 10% for element accuracy. And as well as her Thief Tactics, or her highlight, increases damage taken by 17% for 2 turns. So she is just a massive upgrade for any sort of curse team, as well as another one who comes natural with increased speed or agility mastery. So really nice for any sort of curse team. And then the last 2 personas I'm going to be talking about for today is going to be found in our exchange shop. So exchange shop, go down to challenge rewards, and they're under the repression medals 4, which we can't get yet because this comes from the what's it called? This comes from SOS, so Sea of Souls. But for any of us who want yusuke, which I actually have to get now because I hit 1k subs, thank you all of them, but it's King Frost. If you want to use yusuke or Fox, you want King Frost because after shielding ally, increases main target's defense by 18%, and if it already has this, it increases their ice damage by 10%, as well as the fact that we have a Snow King's protection, which is grant shield, and while shielded, increases defense by 30%. So massive shielding and defense, which is exactly what Yusuke wants. And then any of us who want, for example, a nuke team, we would be using Bishamonten. So any of us who want makoto Nijima, that's her name. But basically, when using skill on foe, increases main target's nuke damage taken by, where is it? By 10% for 1 turn. Stacks up to 3 times. So all of this it's based upon for each elemental ailment. So you run Makoto Nijima with a Vino or Chizuhu with a Granny. So you'll have a bunch of ailments on them, and then you're increasing their nuke damage taken by 30% just by having him on the team, as well as he also has a chance of inflicting elemental ailments across everything. Like, very, very good. He's a very good persona to have for any sort of nuke team. So again, Makoto Nijima, you want to save up your repression medal 4, and once again we can get those starting I believe it should be, where is it? Yeah, next go around. So when Fox comes, we'll get these. And then when Fox, so basically when Makoto Nijima, we can have 250. So unfortunately, we're going to have to wait until you're going to have to make sure you hit rank 3 for Makoto Nijimas, and then it'll be 1.4. So by 2.0, we'll be able to afford it, luckily. So those last 2 personas are going to be quite a while before we can get them, unfortunately. But with that, I'm going to end the video here. I hope you guys have a great day, have a great night, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.